Looking for financial support that strives to honor your community's rich heritage and cultural practices? Introducing RBC Origins. Our Indigenous banking specialists provide resources and advice that can help transform your ideas into tangible progress and community prosperity. At RBC, we're committed to driving your goals forward. Learn more at rbc.com/indigenous. RBC, ideas happen here.
I'm Rick Hart. This is your APTN News Brief for Wednesday, August 13th. We start in the Arctic, a region of growing global interest to a variety of countries. One reason security advocates have pushed Canada to enhance its northern defense capabilities. Now, a new report highlights how First Nations in the Yukon can contribute and the challenges they face. With more, Sarah Connors.
The AFN Yukon region in the North American and Arctic Defense and Security Network is calling for greater collaboration between First Nations and decision makers on Arctic security. The report, which includes input from First Nations leaders, technical experts, and others, was sparked following an incident in early 2023 when an unidentified flying object, initially thought to be a foreign surveillance balloon, was shot down over First Nations territory. The incident caused confusion as government agencies failed to provide impacted First Nations with timely, accurate information as events unfolded. Beyond that, the report found the Yukon has a lot of strategic importance in matters of Arctic security, from its road and air networks to its proximity to Alaska and the Arctic Ocean. But it says military investment in the territory is sparse, and First Nations have been largely excluded or underinvolved in decisions surrounding defense and security policy in the north. It also found the Yukon's Canadian Rangers need more support and resources. First Nations often lead search and rescue operations, but are rarely treated as formal partners by other agencies, and that better infrastructure in First Nations communities could strengthen northern defense planning. The report calls for formal information sharing and co-planning protocols between First Nations and the National Department of Defense, and more federal funding for a defense role within First Nations governments. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
To Saskatchewan, a province that's faced its share of disasters in 2025. Now, a group of Northerners want the government to confront another growing concern: water. Rachel May reports.
We need people to come together, wherever far and wide, to help make this happen.
Denise Mackenzie, a Métis elder from Cumberland House, is one of the people spearheading the Indigenous Saskatchewan Women's Environmental Water Keepers Advocates Group. Cumberland House, once a key fur trade depot connecting the Saskatchewan River Delta to Lake Winnipeg and Hudson Bay, now faces dangerously low water levels, making the river hard to navigate. Mackenzie says residents have been calling for action to preserve and restore the Delta's health for nearly 20 years.
They're at a point where they don't know what to do. You know, they're just lost. They know they've got no help, and that's how it's been for so many years.
She says residents have taken it upon themselves to preserve the Delta as best they can, but lack of funding remains a challenge.
The trapper said, no, we need to do something here. This is not right, Hold them accountable. So we've been trying to work, and we're doing these restorations. They've been putting a little bit of funds, and we've been getting little funds here and there, but it's not enough. There needs to be a whole permanent funding to help restore, because we can improve that health.
The Water Movement Group continues to urge the provincial and federal governments to provide sustained funding to restore the river delta and stop the irrigation projects before it's lost forever. Mackenzie says that if plans to divert natural water to man-made basins go ahead, the delta and vital Indigenous practices will disappear.
It's the teachings that come through, the values that are taught to the young people to carry on. That's what it's about. It's being out there and doing these things that we do on the trap lines. It's not going to be there anymore if we don't do something.
The group hopes to raise awareness about the low water levels before there are irreversible effects on both the delta and the entire Saskatchewan River system. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Still in that province, where alleged illegality and unsafe conditions were the reasons Buffalo River Dene Nation gave for some recent evictions. Located about 540 kilometers north of Saskatoon, Buffalo River leadership said in a statement, quote, "What happened was not done out of anger or judgment, but out of care. Care for the people affected, care for their children, and care for the families living around them who have been living in fear, unquote. And finally, the Global Indigenous Languages Summit is underway in Ottawa this week. Entitled Waves 2025, the four-day event is organized by the Office of the Commissioner of Indigenous Languages. The event features experts and advocates from around the world, along with multiple workshops. Among the keynote speakers, Indigenous Services Minister Mandy Gulmasti.
There are more than 70 Indigenous languages spoken by First Nations, Inuit, and Métis in Canada. 3/4 are endangered. None are considered fully safe. We are in a critical moment that demands that we all act together. While Indigenous people lead the way, the Government of Canada has a responsibility to walk alongside you. It is my role as Minister to be part of that process.
And here with more from the first full day of the Waves 2025 Summit in Ottawa, Fraser Needham.
Welcome to Q's Greenland! Cupanuk Olsen is the host of her own YouTube channel called Q's Greenland. She's also one of the featured speakers as part of the 7 Gen Space during the first full day of the Waves 2025 Indigenous Languages Conference. Olsen says social media has allowed her to tell her own story and that of Greenland, close to 500,000 YouTube subscribers.
It's so important to tell your own story to the rest of the world. So that's what I'm doing. It's important for other cultures to learn who we are. And you can do that so easily on social media. So yeah, it's just important to share who you are to the rest of the world through social media.
As part of her talk, Olsen told youth all you need is a smartphone, basic microphone, and a little imagination to tell your story, no matter how remote your location.
Social media is helping us to connect.
She adds the sky is the limit when it comes to using social media to link Indigenous people all around the world and helping them revitalize and preserve their languages.
It's helping us to relate to other fellow Inuit or other Indigenous people. It's also helping us to maintain our language, like teach others and empower the young people to start to learn their own language. So it's just all about connecting and inspire others to do content creation. Yeah.
And so welcome everybody.
In another afternoon session, Brielle Bowden-Reimer was part of a presentation on the recently produced report, The Vitality of Michif Languages Among the Red River Métis, which was prepared for the Office of the Commissioner of Indigenous Languages. The report is a historical analysis of the rise of Michif languages during the early to mid-1800s and the decline after Manitoba joined Confederation in 1870. She says revitalization of Michif languages will require further research in both historical and contemporary data.
I think for me, the most important part is more about how do we bring awareness about Michif languages, because in order to revitalize them, we also need to bring awareness to them. And we need to understand how and where they existed. And so that's kind of from a historical perspective what I see my role.
The Languages Conference continues on Wednesday with the theme of technology and language. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
And that's your APTN News Brief for Wednesday, August 13th. I'm Rick Harp.